The world does not reward intention, it rewards execution. It does not care how moral you are, how patient you have been, or how unfair your starting point feels. It only responds to pressure applied consistently, without sentiment, without excuses. Most people are not losing because the game is rigged. They are losing because they refuse to play it as it is. They demand comfort while asking for progress. They want power without responsibility, respect without results, victory without pain. History has never granted such requests. Power is not loud. It is quiet, deliberate, and often misunderstood. It is built in solitude, sharpened through discomfort, and protected by discipline. Those who possess it rarely explain themselves. Those who lack it endlessly justify themselves. This is not a guide for the virtuous. Virtue without leverage is decoration. This is a manual for those who are tired of pretending that softness will be rewarded, that patience alone will save them, or that time favors the hesitant. Time favors those who move. Every advantage you admire in others was purchased with something most people refuse to pay: pain, repetition, rejection, and sustained effort long after motivation died. There is no shortcut around this exchange. There never was. The following principles are not designed to inspire you. Inspiration fades. These principles are designed to harden you, to remove illusions, to strip away the stories you tell yourself to remain comfortable in mediocrity. You will find no encouragement here, only clarity. And clarity is dangerous, because once you see the rules clearly, you can no longer claim ignorance. You will either act, or you will knowingly choose to remain where you are. Machiavelli understood a truth that still unsettles people today. Outcomes justify methods, and reality does not negotiate with ideals. If that offends you, stop reading now. If it sharpens your focus, proceed. What follows are 15 laws, not opinions, not motivation, laws. Apply them, and you gain an unfair advantage. Ignore them, and the world will use them against you anyway. Truth 1. Pain is the price of power. Progress is never gentle. Anyone who tells you otherwise is either lying or selling something. Growth is violent by nature. It stretches you beyond what you can tolerate, then demands that you adapt or break. This is not a flaw in the system. This is the system. Every form of power requires payment, and the currency is pain. Physical strength requires tearing muscle. Authority requires conflict. Wealth requires uncertainty, pressure, and prolonged discomfort. There is no version of advancement that does not extract its cost up front. The only choice you have is whether you pay consciously or unconsciously. Those who pay consciously call it discipline. Those who refuse to pay call it suffering. Most people misunderstand pain as a signal that something is wrong. In reality, pain is often proof that something is working. The discomfort you feel when you act beyond your current limits is the sensation of expansion. Eliminate pain, and you eliminate growth. This is why the pursuit of comfort is the silent killer of ambition. Comfort numbs urgency. Comfort delays action. Comfort convinces you that tomorrow is guaranteed. Powerful individuals train themselves to interpret pain differently. They do not romanticize it, but they do not flee from it either. Pain becomes data. It becomes confirmation that they are operating at the edge of their capacity, where progress actually occurs. Weakness is not feeling pain. Weakness is reorganizing your life to avoid it. If you want an easy life, accept stagnation. If you want progress, accept misery as an entry fee. You cannot negotiate this trade. History has never allowed anyone to skip it. Truth 2. Be content, never satisfied. There is a fatal confusion between peace and complacency. Peace is internal. Complacency is strategic suicide. You are allowed to enjoy your life. You are not allowed to conclude that you are finished. Satisfaction is the moment you stop applying pressure to your own potential. It is the moment you decide that who you are now is sufficient. From that moment forward, decline begins quietly. Those who rise understand a paradox most people reject. Fulfillment comes from effort, not from arrival. The work shapes you more than the reward ever could. Goals are not destinations. They are tools designed to force you into becoming someone stronger, sharper, and more capable. Once that transformation occurs, the achievement itself feels secondary. This is why disciplined people often appear restless. They are not unhappy. They are simply unwilling to fossilize. They understand that the moment they become satisfied, they surrender momentum. Momentum is fragile. Lose it once, and it takes 10 times the energy to regain. Satisfaction whispers, "You have earned rest." Reality replies, "Someone else is still moving." While you pause, competitors compound. While you celebrate, the standard rises. The world does not wait for gratitude ceremonies. True contentment comes from knowing you are operating at your edge, not from believing you have reached it. You may appreciate the view, but you do not unpack your bags. Those who stop climbing do not fall immediately. They decay slowly, comforted by yesterday's victories. Be grateful, be calm, but never be done. Truth 3. Ignore critics or be governed by them. The average person has no incentive to see you succeed. Your failure validates their hesitation. Your ambition exposes their fear. Their advice is rarely malicious, but it is almost always self-serving. Criticism is the currency of the uncommitted. Those who have not risked anything speak most confidently about caution. They frame cowardice as wisdom and call restraint maturity. Listen closely, and you will notice a pattern. The loudest critics are the farthest from the arena. If you allow unqualified opinions to influence your decisions, you hand your future to people who will never carry its consequences. This is voluntary submission. Extraordinary outcomes require behavior that looks unreasonable to ordinary observers. When you deviate from the average will attempt to correct you, not because you are wrong, but because your divergence threatens their narrative. Your success implies that their inaction was a choice, not fate. There is a simple filter that eliminates confusion. Take counsel only from those who have achieved what you are attempting to build. Proximity in relationship is irrelevant. Proximity to results is everything. Critics age, disappear, and die. Their opinions expire faster than the decisions they tried to block. Regret, however, survives you. When you reach the end of your life, the voices that mattered were never the ones telling you to play it safe. Ignore critics not out of arrogance, but out of precision. Attention is a weapon. Spend it only where it compounds. If you do not choose whose voice guides you, the loudest one will, and it is rarely the wisest. Truth 4. Power comes from elimination, not addition. Most people believe productivity is about doing more. This belief keeps them weak. Power comes from subtraction, from elimination, from the ruthless removal of anything that does not directly serve the objective. Commitment is not motivation. Commitment is the destruction of alternatives. The moment you leave multiple doors open, you guarantee that none of them will be fully crossed. Focus is not intensity. Focus is scarcity. It is the decision to starve everything except the one thing that matters. Those who remain mediocre often pride themselves on options. They call it flexibility. In reality, it is indecision disguised as intelligence. They dabble, explore, experiment endlessly, and wonder why nothing compounds. Compounding requires confinement. Pressure only builds in closed systems. Every great outcome is the result of sustained attention applied to a single direction over an unreasonable length of time. It does not matter which direction you choose. What matters is that you stop changing it. Mastery is not achieved by finding the perfect plan. It is achieved by refusing to abandon an imperfect one. Distraction is not accidental, it is environmental. If your surroundings allow interruption, interruption will occur. If your life permits escape, escape will be taken. Eliminate noise, eliminate access, eliminate alternatives. The fewer things you allow yourself to do, the stronger you become at the one thing you chose. Power belongs to those who can say no without apology. Every yes costs you something. Most people are bleeding strength through polite agreements and unnecessary obligations. They mistake availability for virtue. History remembers results, not responsiveness. Choose one path. Burn the others. That is focus. Truth 5. Fear must answer to regret. Fear is inevitable. It does not disappear with courage or experience. The difference between the powerful and the powerless is not the absence of fear, but the hierarchy of it. There are two dominant fears that govern human behavior: fear of rejection and fear of regret. You will obey one of them. The question is which. Fear of rejection keeps you compliant. It keeps you quiet, agreeable, and invisible. It convinces you that safety lies in approval. Fear of regret does the opposite. It forces action. It forces risk. It forces movement before certainty. Those who rise fear regret more than humiliation. They understand that rejection wounds the ego temporarily, while regret corrodes the soul permanently. Rejection fades. Regret accumulates. Indecision is often praised as caution, but it is usually fear wearing formal clothing. The longer the gap between a decision and its execution, the weaker the individual becomes. Power can be measured by speed. Those who act quickly dominate those who hesitate elegantly. Most fears exist only in abstraction. When examined closely, they collapse. What actually happens if you fail? You lose status. You feel embarrassment. You learn. You continue. These outcomes are survivable. What is not survivable is the slow suffocation of unrealized potential. The powerful rehearse failure in detail. They dismantle the illusion of catastrophe. Once the worst case is faced and found tolerable, fear loses its authority. Action follows naturally. If you wait for fear to vanish, you will wait forever. Instead, elevate regret above fear and let it drive you forward. The future belongs to those who would rather be rejected today than ashamed tomorrow. Truth 6. Persistence manufactures timing. Timing is the excuse of the inactive. Preparation is the weapon of the relentless. There is no perfect moment. There is only readiness colliding with opportunity. Those who believe in timing attempt to arrive precisely when conditions are ideal. Those who believe in persistence ensure they are always present when opportunity appears. The world is not designed to reward those who wait. It rewards those who endure. Most opportunities are invisible to the unskilled. Skill creates perception. The more capable you become, the more doors you notice. What looks like luck from the outside is usually preparation stretched over time. People who quit early believe they were unlucky. People who persist long enough realize that opportunity repeats. It cycles. It returns. But only to those who are still standing. Consistency is not glamorous. It is repetitive, monotonous, and unrewarded for long stretches. This is why it works. Most cannot tolerate doing the same thing without applause. Those who can inherit disproportionate returns. The individual who never stops eliminates the need for timing. When effort is continuous, readiness is guaranteed. When readiness is guaranteed, opportunity cannot be missed. Persistence compresses randomness into inevitability. Those who wait for conditions to improve misunderstand the nature of progress. Conditions improve after action, not before it. Movement clarifies the path. Stillness creates illusion. Do not ask when to start. Start, and time will bend around you. Persistence turns chance into certainty, and effort into leverage. Endure long enough, and the world will meet you halfway. Truth 7. Envy is wasted energy. Effort is a weapon. Envy is one of the most expensive habits a person can maintain. It consumes attention, distorts perception, and produces nothing. Those who indulge in it believe they are observing others, when in reality they are draining themselves. Most people envy outcomes without respecting inputs. They compare their beginning to someone else's middle and call the difference injustice. This mental error is convenient because it absolves them of responsibility. If success is unfair, then failure is acceptable. Envy feels active, but it is passive decay. It gives the illusion of engagement while preventing action. The mind becomes busy tearing others down instead of building itself up. This is why envy is so seductive. It requires no risk, no exposure, no accountability. Effort, by contrast, is violent. It demands repetition when results are invisible. It demands humility in the face of incompetence. It demands sustained focus on your own inadequacies rather than someone else's achievements. This is precisely why most avoid it. The strongest advantage you can develop is indifference to comparison. Others winning does not diminish you. Others losing does not elevate you. Your position is determined only by how far you have moved relative to who you were yesterday. Those who dominate understand a quiet truth. You do not win by defeating competitors. You win by outgrowing them until they no longer matter. While others obsess over rivals, the disciplined obsess over improvement. One path produces noise, the other produces inevitability. Redirect every ounce of envy inward. Use it as evidence of desire, then convert that desire into labor. The moment envy becomes effort, it loses its poison and becomes fuel. Truth 8. Hard conversations are the gatekeepers of power. Everything you want is guarded by discomfort. The more valuable the outcome, the more difficult the conversation required to reach it. Most people repeat the same year of their life indefinitely because they avoid confrontation. They tolerate misalignment, underperformance, and resentment because short-term comfort feels safer than short-term pain. In doing so, they lock themselves into long-term dissatisfaction. Hard conversations expose truth. Truth rearranges hierarchies. This is why they are avoided. Speaking plainly risks rejection, conflict, and loss of approval. Remaining silent risks something far worse: stagnation. Powerful individuals do not enjoy difficult conversations. They prioritize them. They understand that delay compounds damage. The longer a truth is withheld, the more destructive its eventual release becomes. Addressing issues early is not kindness. It is efficiency. There is a simple rule that governs growth. Short pain prevents long pain. Avoiding the conversation does not eliminate the consequence. It merely postpones it and multiplies the cost. What begins as discomfort becomes regret if ignored. Those who advance act quickly once clarity appears. The moment you know a conversation must happen is the moment it is already overdue. Hesitation is the tax you pay for wanting to be liked. If you fear difficult conversations, consider the alternative. Living with unresolved tension corrodes confidence. It trains you to accept misalignment as normal. Eventually, you stop noticing how small your life has become. Speak early, speak cleanly, speak without apology. The future belongs to those who trade momentary discomfort for permanent leverage. Truth 9. Endurance is the skill that makes all others relevant. Talent without endurance is decoration. Intelligence without endurance is unused potential. Vision without endurance is fantasy. Endurance is not glamorous. It does not announce itself. It is the ability to remain functional under sustained pressure when enthusiasm has evaporated. This is the skill that separates those who finish from those who fantasize. Most people fail not because the task is impossible, but because it lasts longer than their patience. They underestimate duration. They overestimate motivation. When novelty fades and resistance sets in, they interpret discomfort as a sign to quit. Those who endure do not ask whether the situation is fair. They ask what is required. Constraint forces innovation. Scarcity sharpens decision-making. Pressure reveals capacity. Placing yourself in situations where retreat is impossible accelerates transformation. When there is no exit, adaptation becomes mandatory. This is why comfort is dangerous. Comfort provides escape routes. Endurance closes them. History is filled with individuals who survived conditions far harsher than modern inconveniences. They endured not because they were special, but because they had no alternative. When the choice is endure or disappear, endurance emerges naturally. cultivate this deliberately. Choose commitments that demand consistency. Accept responsibilities that force growth. Remove safety nets that encourage hesitation. You will discover that you are capable of far more than you believed. Endurance is the quiet force that turns pressure into power. Develop it, and time becomes your ally. Without it, every other advantage collapses under stress. Those who can endure will always outlast those who merely feel inspired. Truth 10. Results are the only currency that matters. Excuses are seductive because they are often legitimate. Circumstances can be unfair. Starting points can be unequal. Burdens can be real. None of this changes the outcome. Reality does not issue rewards for justification. It only recognizes results. Most people secretly want permission to remain average. Excuses provide that permission. They soften the internal judgment that comes from knowing you could have done more. They trade accountability for comfort and call it self-compassion. The brutal truth is this: it may not be your fault, but it is still your responsibility. Life does not pause to investigate blame. It moves forward, carrying consequences with it. Those who accept responsibility gain leverage. Those who reject it surrender control. Results create authority. Authority silences argument. No explanation competes with evidence. When you produce outcomes, your past disadvantages become irrelevant. When you do not, your reasons become invisible. There is a dangerous phrase people repeat to themselves: I did my best. Best is subjective. Requirements are not. The world responds to what is required, not to what feels sufficient. What is required often exceeds your current capacity. That is not injustice. That is an invitation to grow. Those who win operate by a simple internal command: do what is required, not what is comfortable, not what is fair, not what earns sympathy, what is required. Over time, this standard reshapes identity. Capability expands, results accumulate. Respect follows results, not intentions. The sooner you accept this, the faster you stop negotiating with yourself. Truth 11. The hard way is the only way that works. People waste years searching for shortcuts to places that have no shortcuts. They confuse efficiency with avoidance. The irony is cruel. The time spent hunting for the easy path almost always exceeds the time required to walk the hard one. Shortcuts exist only until everyone uses them. Once discovered, they become the baseline. What remains difficult is what most avoid. That avoidance is precisely why it retains value. Hard does not arrive as a single dramatic challenge. It arrives as accumulation. Small sacrifices repeated daily. Boring discipline applied without applause. The monotony of showing up when nothing exciting happens. This is the real texture of difficulty. What most imagine as hard is often just unfamiliar. When a new form of resistance appears, people panic and assume they are off course. In truth, they have simply reached the next layer. Difficulty evolves as you do. There are many forms of hard: effort hard, sacrifice hard, risk hard, uncertainty hard. Each one feels distinct, but they all serve the same function. They filter out the unwilling. The individuals who build disproportionate outcomes are not immune to hardship. They are simply fluent in it. They recognize it quickly. They stop arguing with it. They endure. The hard way works because it cannot be faked. It demands transformation, not tricks. Those who accept this early bypass years of confusion. Those who resist it pay interest in regret. Stop asking how to make it easier. Ask how to become stronger. The path does not soften. You do. Truth 12. Never surrender your power through blame. Whatever you blame controls you. Whatever offends you commands your attention. Wherever you assign fault, you also assign power. Blame feels relieving in the moment because it explains pain without demanding change. But explanation without action is paralysis disguised as insight. Every excuse you repeat reinforces the belief that control exists outside you. Many people remain trapped not because they were wronged, but because they refuse to release the story of being wronged. They mistake suffering for leverage. In reality, it is a leash. Power begins the moment you detach your outcomes from your reasons. You may be right about what happened to you. And so what? Being right does not move you forward. Ownership does. The most dangerous form of power transfer happens quietly, when you allow past events, other people, or unfair conditions to dictate your future behavior. At that point, you are no longer acting, you are reacting. Those who reclaim power stop narrating their wounds. They do not deny the past. They simply refuse to let it vote on their next move. They understand that healing is not achieved through explanation, but through agency. Anger, resentment, and blame all share one flaw. They outsource control. Let them go, not for moral reasons, but for strategic ones. A controlled mind is a weapon. A reactive one is a liability. The moment you stop pointing outward, you regain command. And with command comes choice. With choice comes movement. With movement comes power. The world does not care why you were delayed. It only responds when you advance. Truth 13. Choose rejection now or regret forever. At some point, everyone faces the same fork in the road. One path offers immediate discomfort and social risk. The other offers comfort now and quiet decay later. The difference between the powerful and the forgotten is which pain they choose. Rejection is loud, public, and short-lived. Regret is silent, private, and permanent. Most people structure their lives to avoid rejection. They dilute their ambition, soften their goals, and lower their standards so they can remain acceptable. They mistake approval for safety. In reality, approval is a cage built by consensus. Every meaningful pursuit requires exposure. Exposure invites rejection. If you are not being rejected, you are not attempting anything ambitious enough to matter. Rejection is not evidence of failure. It is evidence of participation. The inexperienced believe success comes from being chosen. The experienced understand it comes from choosing to persist after being dismissed. Greatness rejects first-time applicants. It does so deliberately. It filters out those who require encouragement to continue. Those who win fear regret more than embarrassment. They understand that no insult rivals the weight of knowing they never tried. The sting of rejection fades. The knowledge of wasted potential does not. If you cannot tolerate rejection today, you will guarantee regret tomorrow. And regret is the only failure that offers no rematch. Truth 14. Consistency outlasts talent every time. Talent is a multiplier. Consistency is the base. Without the base, the multiplier is meaningless. The world is filled with gifted individuals who never arrived because they relied on bursts of motivation rather than systems of execution. Motivation is unreliable. It appears when conditions are favorable and vanishes under pressure. Consistency does not negotiate. Most skills are not complex. They are repetitive. The barrier is not intelligence but endurance. Doing the same thing when progress is invisible, praise is absent, and boredom is constant is what eliminates the majority. 20 hours can make you competent at almost anything. A year of repetition can place you ahead of most. The tragedy is that many delay starting for years, waiting to feel ready. Readiness is earned through repetition, not reflection. Confidence is not built through affirmation. It is built through exposure. Repeated action habituates fear until it loses intensity. What once caused anxiety becomes routine. This is not belief. It is biology. Those who appear fearless are simply accustomed. They have done the thing so many times that their nervous system no longer interprets it as a threat. This is why practice is non-negotiable. You do not think your way into courage. You work your way into it. The world belongs to those who can continue without immediate reward. Most quit because they misinterpret silence as failure. In reality, silence is the price of admission. Be consistent long enough, and talent becomes irrelevant. Persistence erodes resistance. Time yields to repetition. Truth 15. Shame is a tool used to keep you small. If you want money, opportunity, or leverage, shame must be eliminated. Shame is not morality, it is social control. Shame asks whose rules you are obeying. Guilt comes from violating your own standards. Shame comes from violating someone else's. The question is simple. Whose approval governs your behavior? People remain poor not because they lack ability, but because they refuse to ask. They will not knock, call, message, pitch, or follow up because they fear judgment. This fear is artificial. Doors do not open themselves. Trying has asymmetric risk. The worst outcome is rejection and learning. The best outcome is transformation. There is no scenario where action leaves you worse than inaction over time. Those who succeed understand this early. They remove dignity from the equation. They trade ego for momentum. They accept awkwardness, embarrassment, and social friction as tools, not threats. Shame is often enforced by those who benefit from your passivity. When you hesitate, someone else advances. When you remain silent, someone else claims the opportunity. There is no neutral ground. The path forward is never fully visible. Fog clears only after movement begins. Expecting clarity before action is a fantasy. Action creates clarity, not the reverse. Play the cards you were dealt. Advantages unused are indistinguishable from disadvantages. Others will always explain away your success if you achieve it. They will do the same if you fail. Their judgment is irrelevant either way. Do not wait to feel entitled. Act as if permission is unnecessary, because it is. These 15 truths are not philosophy. They are weapons. Use them, and you gain leverage. Ignore them, and they will still govern the world you live in. The choice is not whether these laws apply. The choice is whether they serve you or rule you. Choose accordingly. Power is never granted. It is assumed, exercised, and defended. By the time permission arrives, the moment has already passed to someone who did not wait. If these truths unsettled you, that is not an accident. Comfort is the first illusion that must be destroyed. The world does not collapse when you abandon it. It clarifies. You begin to see who benefits from your hesitation, who profits from your fear, and who grows stronger while you explain yourself. Most people will read these laws and nod in agreement, then return to the same behaviors that kept them small. They will reinterpret discipline as extremism, consistency as obsession, and responsibility as cruelty toward themselves. This is how mediocrity protects itself. It rebrands weakness as wisdom. Do not make that mistake. You are not constrained by lack of information. You are constrained by lack of execution. The gap between who you are and who you could become is not closed by insight, reflection, or intention. It is closed by repetition under pressure. There will be no signal that you are ready. No final reassurance. No authority will certify that you deserve more. The only proof that matters is movement. Forward. Imperfect. Relentless movement. Understand this clearly. These laws will govern your life whether you acknowledge them or not. They do not ask for belief. They enforce outcomes. You can align with them and compound advantage, or resist them and call the resistance fate. History remembers those who endure, not those who explain. Respect follows results, not effort. And regret waits patiently for anyone who confuses caution with intelligence. If you want to win, stop asking how it should be and start acting according to how it is. Harden your standards, narrow your focus, remove excuses, choose action over approval. This is not motivation, it is orientation. The world is already moving. Either you move with intention, or you are carried without mercy. Choose.